All right, I got another question regarding this. Then we'll wrap up part one. We'll transition over, catch the second part at Mark's channel, y'all. But if you can't get anything for him and he's holding out, do you just cut him?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say no, because there's going to be a time this year in the season that the veteran leadership and the Troy Franklins and the Veles and the Virgils and those kind of guys that we like that are still coming don't have. And for a young, if the goal is this season to get Bo Nix to, you know, ready for his future, I think you really want a guy dependable. And this is what we were thinking like months ago before all this kind of stuff went. But he's just so valuable to have at least one guy that you're just like, I know where that guy's a professional. He does everything. He comes in and does things the right way with the right attitude. So I want the Troy Franklins and the Veles to look at a guy like Sutton because, as much as he's unhappy, he doesn't seem like petulant about things. He's never seemed like a type of guy where you're like, oh, if he's not going to be happy, then he's going to be a cancer. I think he can be a positive and still not have everything. He can, even if he's not here for the long haul, he won't be like disgruntled as far as being a bad example of a player for the young guys.
Yeah, I really feel like I'm on the fence a little bit now where I'm still with you, Jeremy. I think we're a better team with him. I think he would serve Bo Nix better. But my one condition, no distractions, no thinking about anything else other than the team. And that's where maybe I find myself a little bit in the gray in the next month, seeing how things turn out. But guys, we'll go ahead and transition second part over to Mark's channel. So if you're catching it now, be sure to smash that like and subscribe on Marquee Sports. What are you doing if you're not watching Marquee Sports? But let's move on from Cortland Sutton a little bit. And I want to talk, we talked so often on our last show. It became the whole Bo Nix episode, which was great. We're all rooting for Bo Nix. But let's talk about some other players that we're excited about this year, and have some conversations about them. I'll pick on you first, Mark. Who's maybe a guy that the national media might be sleeping on, a guy or two, but throughout what you've heard through OTAs and mini camp, you're getting pretty excited to see on the field this year.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what, David? I felt like we haven't involved you enough yet to this point. So I'm gonna flip it back to you, and I'm
There
gonna
you go.
have you
Now
answer
you're
that
the
question.
guest.
Now you're the guest, and then I will. I'll give my thoughts at the end. But what do you
All
think, man?
right.
I mean,
I
yeah.
love it.
Let's hear
I
more.
love
Let's
it.
hear more, David.
All right. Well, where should I start? On the defensive line, or I'll say this. I'm excited to hear the news about Riley Moss. Like, it hasn't been earth-shattering or anything like that, but
Yeah.
we've heard some good plays, or about some good plays about him having some impressive pass breakups, that he's like looking competent. And I think like that was kind of a concern for me, like going into this year's draft, of like, I would want us to draft a corner, which they did, with Chris Abrams drain, but I don't think any of us were expecting for his rookie year to essentially just be a red shirt last year, regardless of battling through some injury. And if he can kind of live up to, I think, baseline expectation for a third round pick is that they're like a somewhat adequate starter for you for some period amount of time. Like, I think that's a huge success for Riley Moss right now, especially after not getting any playing time his rookie year. So I like to hear some of the positives coming out there, alongside a guy that Ryan Edwards was talking about yesterday. Says we're not giving him enough credit. Jaquan McMillan maybe is going through a similar career journey like Chris Harris, coming in as an undrafted guy, mainly just being seen as a slot but his game develops far and beyond whatever expectation or ceiling there was thought of to be for his career. And maybe he really is that number two guy.
I
But
love that.
I hope that Levi Wallace is not a starting cornerback for this team, because if that's the case, that means that those two guys are continuing to grow. What say y'all?
I think
Jeremy?
Levi Wallace is going to be a starter. I think that he's just got the experience. And but I'm 100% with you on Riley Moss. 100%. I was I was like, just get him on the field. Let's play. Like, get
Yeah.
him some reps last year. Let's go. Like, once the season was kind of like, we knew after that Patriots game that we weren't going to the playoffs. Like, well, why not? Like, he was
Yeah.
on special teams and stuff, but I was like, I don't. I mean, maybe I don't understand the inner workings of like they didn't want to bench certain guys just because, but yeah, he's a big one. Mine, the guy who I'm really looking forward to watching, and I after we recorded our last stuff, I was like, man, I wanted to talk about this person more. Was Jonah Ellis? I
Yes.
I said, the day I did Mark's podcast right before the second day of the draft, and that was
Okay.
one of the people that I called out. And this is why, and you heard a little bit of it right away. Is like, oh, this guy is like, I honestly don't know why he came out when he did. I think if he would have went back to school and had just the exact similar year, he would have been a first round pick. And so I, you know, I'm not expecting him to come in and just set the world on fire because he's like so young. But this guy can be that Batman we're looking for with the Robins that we have as far as Baron Brownings and Bonitos. I honestly think this guy can really be dynamic, and I'm I really think he got slept on with the Bo Nix and then Troy Franklin. He kind of just got like swallowed up in the whole
Yeah.
hype of that, and he shouldn't have because he's a super exciting player. I mean, he's an NFL legacy. His brothers are in the NFL. Like, this guy is not going to be one of those like rookies who is like wide eyed and like I don't know what to do. Like, no, he's a pro coming in day one, just kind of like Bo Nix is, and I'm super excited to see how the effect that he has because there was I was watching, I think it was Cecil or somebody who was
Yeah.
saying like I and then maybe yeah, and it was on X and people were like, I love just watching him blow up plays. He was like diagnosing stuff beforehand, and for a rookie in a mini camp or not even a mini camp, but like I think this was OTAs to be doing that is like so encouraging because usually those guys are just like, I don't want to look bad for my coach. I don't want to guess wrong. I'm not going to do any of that kind of stuff. And he was like, it's going to be this, it's going to be this. Like, he was there. So I'm super excited about watching him coming out.
Do you think he starts for us this year?
I think everybody's on a rotation this year.
Yeah.
I just think that's just the kind of way it is. I think by the end of the year, he will be, yes, I do think by the end of the year, he will be starting. I don't think he will be I will be surprised if he's starting day one, but
Mhm.
just because we have vets that have a lot of experience in there, and Vance Joseph doesn't like playing rookies anyways. That's
Mhm.
another reason why Riley Moss didn't see the field, which is frustrating. But I do think that he's gonna be undeniable by midseason. That it's just like, oh, we got to get this guy more reps. So I think it'll be him and Baron Browning or him and Benito, whoever. If hopefully Baron Browning and Cooper and those guys can stay healthy and we have a
Mhm.
rotation. So
Yes.
Yeah,
What about you,
unleashing, man.
Mark?
I agree, man. Unleashing those pass rushers. I mean, especially like Bonito and Ellis and Browning, like the guys
Yeah.
that are like they might not necessarily be the best against the run, but my God, they can go after the. It's going to make for a fun third down package for sure. And I love Jaquan McMillian. I'm glad you brought him up. That's one of
Yeah.
my. He's such a dog. And Riley Moss is extremely intriguing. And I'm going to even throw another corner in there. And somebody that I was thinking about earlier today because it's something Sean Payton talked about is Damari Mathis. Because I think he's somebody that because he had such a bad year, is in the doghouse,
Yeah.
basically got benched last year. People kind of wrote him off. But
Yes.
they don't really remember that he showed some signs of being really damn good his rookie season. I mean, he had some rough times for sure, but he bounced back. I was really hyped up about him going into last year, and he was obviously disappointing. But I think he can have a bounce back year. He's got he's got the talent. If he can get on the good graces of the coaching staff, I think he's someone that can be really interesting to watch as well, to really battle it out. Because I think Riley Moss and Damari Mathis are going to get the first crack at it. I think Levi Wallace is kind of like what Fabian Moreau was. Is like if everyone fails, then you can just
Yeah.
plug them in. I'm excited about Damari Mathis, and my second guy is Lucas Kroll. Man, feel like I've
Yes.
talked about him a lot, but
Yes.
I'm worried that I'm more excited about him because I'm scared that he doesn't, because our tight end room is not good.
It's so
It's
bad.
not good, and we obviously you can't rely on Dulcich. I mean, the guy sneezes now, he gets hurt, which is frustrating. But I think Lucas Kroll has got all the tools to be a really good tight end, and I think he's got a coach and a coaching staff that love him. And so I'm really excited to see what level he can take it to this season. So, but there's a lot. That's what's fun about this Broncos team, man. Is like you don't really have high expectations. They could be really bad. They could be surprisingly good. But there's so many intriguing guys, and I think
Mhm.
that's what's going to make the season really fun. Is that there's a
It's
lot
in-
of intrigue.
and it's interesting that you brought up Mathis too, because yeah, playing in a new defense last year, that can take guys time to just find their footing there. And then also um, with Christian Parker leaving, we have Leonard coming in to coach the secondary, and maybe he's the guy to help guys who have struggled recently, Riley Moss and Damari Mathis, to have bounce back seasons. Um, that's something else that I have my eye on is just the future of Jim Leonard and how this Vance Joseph defense performs this year. But let's talk a little bit more. Like you talked about Lucas Kroll. Let's talk more about the offensive side of the ball. Maybe some sleepers. I'll talk about one that's pretty obvious. I've done a handful of videos on him. Uh, Blake Watson. Uh, I mean, I really like what he brings to the table. His skill set. I think that we've needed somebody that, uh, in addition to Jaleel McLaughlin, that has just more dynamic, big time playmaking ability at a slightly larger size. Right now, it's really hard for me to see who the three or four running backs kept on this roster are going to be. Uh, your guess is as good as mine, but I mean, right now, it sucks. Oh, I hope Jeremy's okay. Guess he had to
Yeah,
drop off, but
he just dropped off.
yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, we'll see what happens with Javonte Williams. I feel kind of similar to Cortland. How you feel the Cortland Sutton mark is just it's not anything personal. Like, I love the dude, but I think we just might have some better athletes in the room at this point.
Yeah, and that one hurts my heart more than Cortland too, even. Because like I said, I love both the dudes. And Javante would I mean, just the fact that he played last season after that knee injury, it's
Yes.
like, dude, you're the toughest guy in the league. Like it literally is unbelievable what he did. I mean, if you really understand that injury, like J.K. Dobbins had the same injury. They said that Javante's was even worse than J.K. J.K. missed a year and a half.
And he came back with like
Javonte
a
Williams
dead
was back
leg.
in 10 months. In 10 months. And yeah, he wasn't the same. But you're right. That room, like the receiver room and the running back rooms are intriguing.
Hmm.
They're very similar in the sense of like you're gonna have a lot of good guys or players that you really love that don't make it. And
Hmm.
all the reports that I heard coming out of mandatory minicamp was that Jaleel was the guy. Like he just looked like he took it to another level.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of intriguing. Estime is going to be super good. I think obviously I think Samaje P Ryan is as good as gone. I loved him. I thought he was awesome for us last year too. And it would break my heart to see Javante go, but it might that might be the case. He might be another guy that another team can trade for. But that's going to be a fun uh, positional group to watch as well, man, for sure.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, Jeremy, we were just kind of talking about Blake Watson and some of the question marks with the running back room. What are your thoughts right now after OTAs and mini camps on that room?
Sorry, I don't know what's going on my phone.
That's okay.
It is like You guys sound like cyborgs to me real quick. So let me restart it fully, and
Okay.
I'll be
If you
right
have
back.
your AirPods, it might be the AirPods. Sometimes they do that too.
Yeah, I don't have them in.
Oh, okay.
I'm just getting like snippets, so I don't know what's going on. I thought it was. Let me try one more
It
time.
was Blake Watson,
Okay.
right? When you said Blake Watson, your phone was like,
Yeah.
nah, screw
We'll
that.
wait.
Yeah.
Mark, I got to ask you about this. How are you feeling right now about our swing tackle situation, backup tackle um, right now? That
Oh,
is
you
one
know
I've
what?
had question marks with.
Yeah, it's funny. So I was doing a positional overview video, like positional groups. Been a little inconsistent, just been so busy, but it's actually something I talked about because I know right now we got like, is it Matt? Is it you say Matt Pert? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Matt Pert, I think. Yeah.
As the last name or Peart, as you know the swing tackle. Um, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, I like the fact that they brought a vet in that has had some experience, whether he's been good or not. That's always, it's not like Cam Fleming was a world beater either. But like I said,
No.
solid. You felt like he was good. And Matt Pert kind of projects similarly in terms of he's played left, he's played right. He's just a younger version. But another one of those things where it's like youth movement, right? Like Alex Pocheski, somebody who
Yep.
I was high on. A lot of people like last year. It's going to give him an opportunity to develop into that role. So if it seems like Quinn Bailey's been on this team for like 40 years. He always seems to make it. So you've got some intriguing young guys. I always feel like with the swing tackle position, I don't worry about it so much going into camp because if those guys like if Pelchevsky doesn't really seem very good, if Matt Pert kind of struggles, you always can find those veterans that get cut from other teams because of like cap casualties that you can just bring in and they can be a swing. I think that actually happened with Fleming the first year he was here with us. Um, and so I'm not overly concerned about it. How about yourself, though?
That's
You
great.
seem concerned.
You provide me some reassurance because yeah, I'm a little nervous about it. I think that uh, personally, I think I just would have liked to see Cam Fleming stay here over Matt Pert, but
Yeah,
that's just me, man. Like if Pelcheski or Frank Crum, like one of these guys, if Zach Streif is really able to develop and mold them, then yeah, I'm feeling like we're on cloud nine right now. But I think right now where my hope and confidence is at is more so the coaching rather than the guys that we got on the depth chart after the
yeah,
starters.
no, for sure. And like I said, I mean, it could be concerning, and that's the tough thing about like a swing tackle, right? Because
Yeah.
it's such an important position, and it's one of those positions where like you got to have somebody that's at least played. Like you can't really develop a swing tackle, right? Let's say we didn't have Matt Pert and Alex Polcheski ended up being the swing tackle. It's like okay, if right tackle goes down, he's never played right tackle in the NFL. Left tackle goes in, he's never played left tackle in the NFL. Maybe he's played a lot of left tackle in college, but he hasn't played right. So it's like you're really going to be learning on the fly. So that's why having somebody like Matt Pert that's at least played is good. But how do you develop that, right? And I think that, like I said, I would not be surprised if we ended up bringing in another body if needed later on in camp for sure. And there was also the other guy, or maybe he was more of the who was that a guy that played that we signed? He's got a funny name, and he used to
Throckmorton.
Throckmorton. Yeah, he's more of a inside guy though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Calvin
yeah.
Throckmorton. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't think he's a lock to make the roster, so
yeah.
we'll just
No,
have to
probably not.
see. Jeremy, can you hear us okay?
I'm good now. Yes, I fixed it. So,
Cool. No worries.
Well, we've been talking about swing tackle situation, running back situation. What are your thoughts on those two position groups right now?
man, swing tackle. That's yeah. Let's hope. Gosh, we had such a nice, healthy year last year, and let's hope that
Mhm.
wasn't a fluke, right?
No.
Because man, we were not living that in that world the last feels like forever, last 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, I think that's something. I think center is just like I think people kind of assumed it was probably going to be Forsyth, and it
Mhm.
seems like it's still pretty much up in the air as far as
Yeah.
that goes. So that's another one that's going to be interesting because that person's like the kind of the de facto leader of your line as far as calling things out
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be an interesting one. Running back, man, that estimate injury really throws a curve into like the situation because it seemed like it was going to be maybe a 1-2 punch, and now it could be anything. It
Mhm.
depends. I've heard Javante has no burst. We'll see. Um,
I think
and
they say he should be back for training camp though, 100%.
yeah, but it's just like when you're like, see what happened with Moss is like you have those little injuries, and then you just get behind, and then you just get forgotten about. And I mean, running back's the one thing where you can just come in and just run. So as long as you know what to do as far as pass pro goes, you can get on the field. But it does seem like nobody's talking about him anymore. Like out of sight, out of mind right
Yeah.
now. And it's hard to before you see anything with pads on with running backs. Everyone's like, "Oh, this guy looks way better." It's like, well, yeah, he's the fastest guy. Of course, he's going to look better.
Yeah.
Like they're not playing football; they're running in shorts. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just not. It's never going to be that. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, that estimate like anytime there's like we just had to clean up is a knee.
Mhm.
You're just like, oh no, like it's not like it's. I mean, they've come a long way with that kind of stuff, but man, knees are not something you want to be like messing around with as a running back. So I don't think it's a major injury, but it's just like you just don't know how many weeks it's going to take to get back. That's the whole thing with
Let's
that.
not rush him back like we did Javante. you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
I'm
it
curious
was
too if like that was an injury he had pre-combine or pre-draft, and that's maybe why he fell a
Yeah.
little bit. And then
Maybe that's
they
why he
said,
couldn't
let's
run a
just kind of
40.
see how it happened. Yeah. Well, and then they say, maybe let's just kind of see if it heals itself or if it was something that was sustained in camp. I really feel like it might have been, happened some pre-draft because I mean he was projected to definitely be higher than a fifth round pick, um, if I
Mhm.
remember. But I mean, you never know with backs too. So yeah, let's hope for the best. They said it was just a cleanup. It wasn't even like arthroscopic or anything. It was very very simple. So I'm hoping the same because I was really high on Estimate.
yeah.
Now, I had one more question for you guys, and if you guys got more things, happy to continue to talk. But I wanted to ask you guys about our quarterback room right now. Of course, Jared Stidham is here. Last year of his deal, Zach Wilson traded for mainly in a pick swap. Last year of his deal. Um, how would you guys handle this quarterback room right now? Do you cut one of them come the season? Yeah, how many quarterbacks are you carrying? Do you extend either of these guys? Yeah, what? How do you guys see this room right now?
I'm personally fine with them keeping all three. Um, you just if you I feel like the Zach Wilson idea was not just like, well, we'll see what he looks like for a couple of weeks, and if he doesn't look good, and he's out of here. Like, I don't think that's what it was. I think this guy needs long-term football rehab in the terms of John Elway. So I'm okay with them doing that. It does sound like it's down to Stidham and Nick so far,
Mhm.
and I think that's probably the way it will roll in. Um, a backup quarterback is valuable, and if you can just keep Zach Wilson as your third, and nobody's that intrigued to like, you know, nobody's gonna make. I mean, we barely traded the bare minimum possible for him.
Mhm.
So if you can just kind of shelve him, and he seems like the kind of guy that's a good attitude type of guy, willing to help anybody, that kind of stuff. If you don't know what you're going to do with Stidham long term, I wouldn't mind having it be Stidham and Nix, and then Wilson as your third option, and then next year have Wilson be the second option. If things continue to develop, if that's the way you want to go, I think he's intrigued. I think Sean Payton's just intrigued to see it. I keep hearing he has good throws. It's just the mind type of stuff. So I don't know. I don't mind it. I don't mind if they kept all three. I don't think anybody's a problem. I don't think they're like, give me it to another team if I'm not going to be a chance to start. I don't. It just doesn't feel like that personality to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I like the room. I like the room overall. I think they'll ultimately probably keep all three, depending on a couple factors. Because I look at them, they're all built similarly. They all at least play with a similar style. I mean, I know some of them are like a little bit more athletic, have a stronger arm, but generally speaking, they all kind of profile similarly, which I think is a good thing in a room overall. Which is why I think like what Pittsburgh's doing with Russ and Justin Fields at least makes sense conceptually. So like same kind of thing. I'm here. I think ultimately they'll probably keep all three. I think with Stidham, like if he continues to be solid and impressive like he is, he's somebody that you can look at extending to be your backup moving forward.
Hmm.
You can take a little bit of cap relief off of this season. You can have a good solid backup that you can depend on and that knows the system in the future. Bo Nix will start week one. That's a guaranteed lock. Like I'll put my house on it. It's going to happen unless obviously there's an injury. Um, with Zach Wilson, it's one of those things where like, all right, he'd be fine established as a third guy, but it could be if he ends up progressing well, he could potentially be the backup, and that would mean Stidham could get cut just because of the financial thing to it. My prediction is that all three would make the team, but there's always the possibility, like if a veteran from a team gets cut and you feel more comfortable with just somebody being more solid, steady backup, I could see that move being made. But ultimately, I think it's a fun room, man. It's one of those rooms where like you still got three young guys that are hungry, that have high
Hmm.
ceilings, competing against each other, and I think that that's always going to be a good thing. And then you have to remember Davis Webb is like their age basically, and he used to be a
Right.
quarterback, and he's their quarterback coach, and so that's really important as well. Because a lot of people are like, well, don't you kind of want a veteran, to lead your or somebody that's got more experience than what Stidham has kind of to lead your rookie? But it's like not necessarily. If you look at the history, that's never really helped or you know quarterbacks in the past, and you do have a young guy in Davis Webb who kind of is the coach, but has also played recently, so he can kind of act as that bridge as well.
Yeah, I'd like to keep all three. I guess sometimes I can get confused on how the salary cap works, but maybe you guys can help answer this question because it might change my answer a little bit. But like, if we were, in a sense, to cut Cortland Sutton this offseason or trade him, we save like $10 million on the cap. If we were to save that, are we able to roll over that 10 million into next year? Because I almost kind of would see it as like, hey, if it would be nice, I think, to bring back all three of them for the next couple of years, just so they can all be in the same system, same culture, all that. Again, you guys might have or might not have seen my video where it's like 66 quarterbacks started last year, 68 the year before that. Like that's over two per team. And I just don't want to be rolling out some dude from the practice squad ever as the starting quarterback on this team. I know
You
it's
don't
not
want to.
convenient. Yeah, go
You
ahead.
don't want a wide receiver starting.
Yeah,
Quarterback.
we've gone through the Kendall Hinton experience, and um, if we're continuing to build more cap space next year, over $100 million to spend, if you're going to pay Stidham and Zach Wilson 5, 6, 7, $8 million each for the next couple of years, I think that's totally fine in terms of a like security, like a security investment. But I do wonder if I don't think Jarrett Stidham, honestly, like at the end of the day, views himself ever as like being a legitimate starting quarterback in this league. But I do wonder if Zach Wilson feels like he could have his Sam Darnold moment type of thing. And I wonder if he would just rather hit free agency next year in a sense of just going through 1 year of football rehab. I really do wonder that, but I'd rather have both of these guys here for multiple years. Just build that continuity. It's a big playbook to learn, and maybe one of those guys can establish themselves as a Sam Darnold, but or not a Sam Darnold, Chase Daniel for this team. But the highlights of Zach Wilson, you go watch the highlights from last year that people put
Right.
together. Man, Zach Wilson looks freaking amazing. It's just
Yeah.
about having more of those high moments and eliminating
Yeah,
the bad
yeah,
ones.
he's got some Jay Cutler to him for sure, but then he's also has some Paxton
Jay
Lynch to
Cut-
him
some
in a
Jay
way.
Cutler too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
Well, that's the thing
No
with it.
doubt.
That should tell you everything you need to know right there about like watching highlights and going, how good is this guy? Because it's like it's all about consistency. That's the word you've heard so much this whole offseason with like Bo Nix and Stidham and those is that they're consistent. You know what you're
Mhm.
gonna get. They're the same every day. Well, so yesterday they said about Bo Nix, he had his worst day of all the practices that they've seen, and it was because he was slightly behind the receiver a couple plays, and there was a pick in which Andrew Mason and Cecil said that would have been pass interference, and it was just like it ended up just bouncing up. That's like seems to be all his picks. Is like
Yeah.
it bounces weird. But
Mhm.
if that's your bad day, that's great news. So it seems like the Sean Payton playbook is just insane. So it's hard to just gauge like right away of like, oh, this guy either has it or doesn't. When you know, there's such a you're just getting just the smallest little bit of information so far. So I think he's not an idiot. I mean, Zach Wilson, as far as he sees how the other guys look in camp as compared to him, and if he's like, did you guys see that video of like his family throwing that little Denver Broncos party when he got
Yeah.
hit? And I was like, oh my
I
god, this is
didn't.
like
I didn't see that.
there's just such a funny little party because they were just like so happy to be out of New York that
Yeah.
I honestly feel like he's just in a place where if I can just be under the same coach who likes me, and like you said, that was such a great point. Davis Webb is the veteran in the room as far as like
Yeah.
if you have a question, yeah, just ask your coach because he's. It wasn't like he was a quarterback 30 years ago. It
Exactly.
was
That's the cool part.
yeah, and you know maybe I'm being too optimistic, but there's some people on our coaching staff that I'm like, if we surprise people this year, I don't want them to leave. You know what I mean? Like we're getting talked about in the national media so low. It's like, oh, we're the least talented roster, and we have nobody, and all this stuff. And you're like, oh, I don't mind it. Like I'm not like, this is disrespectful. I'm like, good, keep talking, because
I love it.
I
Oh,
love
dude,
it.
I love it. It's so much better.
And it's just like, okay, I don't want to be on freaking Monday Night Football. I don't want you guys to be like, oh, like I think we were over. This is what I said in a chat room in a pod that I said I think we were overrated these last few years as far as like the talent, the Jerry Judys and those type of people. And this year I feel like we're underrated. You know, like we're being undervalued for actually what we have because the local people and the local you know guys that are in it every single day, we're all like super optimistic about it. We're all like, I kind of like where we're going with this. I like that group. We've improved the defensive line. I mean, we got too many running backs. We got too many wide receivers. I kind of think we have a great trajectory right now. And then if you just read Sean Payton's body language, the dude is like he's like loving it.
He's on
Like
cloud nine, man.
it's a
Yeah.
different if it's a different guy. So I mean, if you just look at that, and then you hear like the articles come out, and you're like, they're the worst team in the league. And you're like, okay, but yeah, I the Jim Leonards and the Davis Webbs and those kind of
Yeah.
guys. It's like, man, I don't want them to leave. I really don't. If things go well, you know,
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Jay is that's gonna be the interesting one this season. Is like, where does he fit compared, you know, because I watched. Did you guys see that the Jim Leonard interview yesterday? The press con he had like a little
I
press
got it
conference.
bookmarked. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I haven't
Yeah.
watched
So I mean, you watch 30 seconds of that guy and you go, oh yeah, he could totally be the defense coordinator. Like you could just see that, you know.
it. Oh yeah.
So yeah, if we could, I don't expect, and I would never like predict it, but if we can have like a Houston Texans light type of year, like I think we really got something. This, I mean, you guys are younger than me, but like in 1995 when we first got Mike Shanahan, and we were going from being a mess under Wade Phillips, and then we bring in Mike Shanahan for that first year, and we didn't know we had Terrell Davis and we didn't know we had Rod Smith and Ed McCaffrey and all these people. It was kind of a feel out year, but we ended up being 8-8. But it was one of those years where we really figured out who we had, who was going to work in the system, who wasn't going to work in the system, and then the momentum going into the next season, we were like 13-3, and it took that Jacksonville like loss to just be devastating.
Yeah.
That propelled us to the next two Super Bowls. But those years, I feel like this could be like a 1995 year where we really we're cutting cap. We're figuring out who should be on the team, who shouldn't be on the team, who's a Sean Payton guy, who's not a Sean Payton guy. But then the momentum going into next year, and then we could end up having like an average record, and then going into next year, it's like, oh, okay, now we're coming because we know exactly what we're doing and where we're headed, and who's the core guys. There's a lot of guys that are vying to be that core player going into these next years, and it just feels like new uniforms, new
Yeah.
coaching, new players. It's like it just feels like we're just at
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna
just
be
at the
fun for
brink of
sure.
it.
It's
Yeah,
the hard reset that we've needed. Like that's how I see it. And I think
Absolutely.
it's funny. I think it's funny too. Like a lot of people brought up Sean Payton's age. With how serious is he about coaching this team long term? But I mean, if he's truly having the time of his life and having fun coaching this team, I don't he's only 60, I think. So I don't see why he couldn't be the coach for another 10 years if he wanted to be. And isn't Belichick like 77 or something like that, 78 years old? So
Yeah.
I think he's still got plenty of life if he wants it
totally.
in coaching. But we got some guys too. Yeah, that Cease and Andrew have talked a lot about of Davis Webb and Jim Leonard about maybe being those up and coming young coaches that have a bright future. I'm excited about it, man. It's gonna.
Ain't no
Do
doubt.
you think you guys will make it out to any of the training camp days? It would be fun to get together and watch a practice.
That
Oh
would be fun.
yeah, no, we'll definitely do it, man.
Yes,
Especially, what
but
are they letting fans? I know they talked about they're planning
yeah,
on being able to let fans, but
yeah, they'll let fans in. So,
look, we should like live
um,
stream and just set up our own little
yeah,
table and be like, we'll make our own media booth. Screw you guys.
That's
we'll
right.
we'll need our like a YouTube press pass. That's what we need
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
YouTubers.
Put a
Yeah.
little tent up there and be like, hey, we're
Yeah,
good.
exactly. David talks
Mhm.
Mark Sports.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I got to reach out to whoever does that sort of credential stuff. I think that would be fun. But I really do appreciate you guys joining me for another roundtable again.
No, likewise,
Whether
man.
you're
It's been great.
on my channel or Mark's channel, I appreciate you guys watching. I guess Mark's channel on this video, but yeah, y'all let us know what you got coming up next, Mark, for the
Yeah, I
fans.
got a lot of things coming up. Obviously, the fantasy football stuff we're gonna push probably starting end of July, but I'm
Cool.
gonna continue to do these positional reviews where we kind of go through every single positional group, talk about some sleepers, some X factors, some predictions, and then kind of rate the overall room. It's been pretty interesting because like even when I'm in the middle of making the video, I'm like, didn't even think about that, and then it'll spark something new. So those will be fun, and then we'll obviously as we get closer to training camp, man, there'll be a ton of content
Yeah.
to go over and talk about as well. And then if with the Nuggets off season stuff, coming soon, the Avalanche as well, we'll be breaking some of that down as that comes and happens. So, um, yeah, super excited, man. Super excited about it.
Well, that sounds great. Yeah, I got some more film rooms coming up. People wanted more Kroll, so be giving them
There you
some more
go.
Kroll film rooms. So y'all be on the lookout for that. Anything, any cut ups or anything you're doing, Jeremy, on your end, or will we just catch you on the next collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really. Honestly, that cut up was just so I could have ammunition for people at the time. I don't. It's just the weirdest thing because I've never done that, and I just had a feeling this year, and I don't even know why. It worked out. It happened to be like
Well,
it
yeah, you're
wasn't.
1 for 1 now, dude. So you can't
I
make any
know,
more because then you
Yeah.
don't want to screw that record up. I would do
right?
the same thing if I was 1 for 1. I'd be like, I'm never making another video again.
Yeah, walking off.
100%.
Yeah,
Nailed it. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm like you guys. I just love listening to just keeping my ear to what's going on. And yeah, no, I love doing these collaborations because it's just so fun to talk to you guys and get your guys' perspective. It's hard to do. People know me from like other podcasts and chats and stuff, but like
Yeah.
having a long form where you can actually like see the person talk and hear their opinions and really chop it up is awesome. So it's so
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, no,
No,
thanks so much for
we'll do it again for
including
sure.
me, and I'm looking forward to watching your stuff, David, on CU, and I love watching Mark's stuff on
Thanks.
all the sports. So yeah, no, it's awesome. Long walks for my dog, and then I'm just like listening to you guys.
Well, that's
Appreciate
perfect.
you, man.
Thanks, Jeremy. I forget, Mark. Were you gonna wrap this up? I'm sorry, I already kind of like started wrapping it up.
Oh
But
no, you're good, man. Do your thing.
um,
You're a fantastic host. I'm so used to just talking to myself in my basement, so you're a lot more seasoned in being able to bring all these together. But yeah, definitely show David some love on his channels, man. His Broncos and his Bucks channels are awesome, and catch Jeremy wherever he is. I feel like Jeremy's so involved in a lot of these different
he
podcasts and
is.
platforms here locally, so he's awesome, man. And always appreciate a like, comment, and a subscribe on the videos, but
Mhm.
more importantly, man, let me know how I can be better. What content you want me to cover on the channel. I'm kind of, like I said, I don't rehearse many of my videos. I don't edit them, any of that kind of stuff. That's kind of what I've wanted to keep it at. But if there's anything specifically you want to see, please do. And a lot of people came at me for that Bo Nix video. I made like a prediction on his stats, and I had some people in the comments. So I got a video coming for y'all. You're gonna like it, to clear up some of those misconceptions. Because yeah, you guys just took like a title or a 5 second clip and used it against me. I was like, did you not listen to the rest of what I said? So we'll
No,
I feel like I
that
feel like no. So I feel like, yeah, I'm like, this is fun. This is exactly what I wanted. I don't get offended or like mad about that. In fact, I love it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh man, that's great. Well, thanks again, guys. Thank you everybody for tuning
Likewise,
in.
man.
We'll be back with another roundtable, I'm sure, here before training camp kicks off. So, yeah, follow us on all the channels. We'll be back again, and go Broncos.
That's right.
Go
That's right. Peace
Broncos.
out, guys.